Chapter 489 Soul Grade Material. As soon as Zhao Yulin's group stepped into the area of the Fire Pillar Hill, a group of soldiers with badges on their chests arrived, too. Every hunter knew that unless their strength could outmatch the entire demon beast's territory, it was unwise to use any wing magical equipment or fly on a mount. The surroundings of the North Burning Valley were occupied by the Dunhuang demon tigers. Anyone who tried to reach the North Burning Valley using other methods would have to cross the Dunhuang demon tigers' territory. Even a super magician would not dare to do that. Therefore, the only way to enter the North Burning Valley was via the Drifting Sand River. However, the Drifting Sand River was also a no-fly zone. If any creature tried to fly across the Drifting Sand River, a giant undead dragon corpse would rise from the Drifting Sand River and devour any creature trying to fly across it. First, the military in Dunhuang did not raise heavenly eagles, and second, both the Drifting Sand River and the northern boundaries of the North Burning Valley were strictly a no-fly zone. We'll climb it from the outside. The hill might be tall, but it's hard to tell how dangerous it is trying to go inside it, said a female commander with an aquiline nose. The woman was clearly the person in charge of the expedition. Everyone was obeying her words, not daring to show any reluctance. The old hunter mentioned that the Fire Pillar Hill might look steep, but its surface isn't as sturdy as it seems. We should be able to cut steps as we climb. Time is running short. We'll make the move tonight. We can't let anyone else get a head start on us. Commander Nanyu, what exactly is the Fire Calamity Fruit for? Why are we sent here to search for it? Said a soldier. It has many uses. I'll tell you this. The simplest way of using it is simply treating it as a reagent when refining a soul-grade fire seed, and the success rate is 100%, said the female commander, Nanyu. A soul-grade material, which has a 100% success rate. The soldier's eyes glittered. A soul-grade fire seed. Something that would multiply the power of every fire spell by 4 times. In addition to that, a soul-grade seed would also grant its bearer a domain, and most of the time a magician would be almost unbeatable within their domain. Its value greatly surpassed that of the resources needed for an intermediate magician to rank up to the advanced level. A soul-grade seed was incredibly rare, and they were hardly ever found even after thoroughly searching the lands of the demon beasts. Even the famous marketplaces in the greatest cities would only auction a soul-grade seed once in a very long while. As such, most of the soul-grade seeds were refined using spirit-grade seeds, and it was said that the success rate was incredibly slim. Even after adding lots of supporting reagents, the chance of failing was significantly greater than the success rate. If the Fire Calamity Fruit could indeed improve the success rate to 100%, it was absolutely priceless. One could still buy spirit-grade seeds with money, but soul-grade seeds were a completely different story. On the other side of the Fire Pillar Hill, a group of people wearing the blue-yellow explorer outfits of the Hunter Union arrived at the bottom of the hill. They were well prepared for the steep walls. A magician with crossing scars on his forehead summoned a mountain-climbing beast. The mountain-climbing beast had special claws that could not only penetrate the walls of the hill, but also provide a strong grip on the steep walls of the Fire Pillar Hill. The mountain-climbing beast was enormous, thus the group of hunters simply hung onto the beast and climbed to the top of the Fire Pillar Hill easily. At the waist of the hill, around 2 kilometers away from the hunters, a group of magicians with special earth element soul seeds were walking on the steep walls as if they were on flat ground. The magicians continued to walk upward, and tied ropes around the rocks that stuck out from the surface. They kept on heading up and tying ropes around the rocks, allowing the people of the Magic Association to climb up using the ropes. The world was filled with wonders. The restless Drifting Sand River had stopped many people who were planning to explore the North Burning Valley, but the Hunter Union, Magic Associations, and the military managed to find people with outstanding capabilities to overcome the difficulties. These people were not here just for the soul seed pieces and soul seeds scattered across the ground. They were here for the Fire Calamity Fruit. The silent night sky had a hint of dark blue to it, and was veiled by a faint mist in the wee hours, hiding the brilliant Milky Way. The blurry light descended upon the quiet woods on the top of the hill, adding an outstanding beauty to it. Mo Fan sat on the slope under the starry tree and the empty sky, the boundless burning valley, and the solitary fiery sorceress. Looking at the fiery sorceress treating the Fire Calamity Fruit on the starry tree with extreme caution, seeing the back of the figure that had existed for an unknown number of years, Mo Fan was suddenly curious about her story. Why are you protecting the fire calamity fruit? Asked Mo Fan, who was sitting on the ground having a rest. The fiery sorceress was able to float freely, with a figure similar to a glamorous lady. She was patrolling around the fire calamity fruit, as if she were afraid that someone would take the fruit away. She slowly landed beside Mo Fan after hearing his question, and used her unique language to chat with Mo Fan. Are you trying to say, I'll know in a few days? Mo Fan tried to interpret what she was trying to say. The fiery sorceress nodded. It's already a fruit. It can't possibly blossom into a tree and bear fruits, said Mo Fan. Mo Fan remembered Chen Yi had mentioned that the fire calamity fruit would disappear a short time after it was born. Her father had sent someone to look for the fire calamity fruit a few times, yet he always missed the time when it was still available. Why would she try and protect something that would disappear in time? Or perhaps the fire calamity fruit was like a persimmon, which is more delicious after leaving it for a few more days after it had ripened? Oh, are you asking how is my body? Mo Fan rose to his feet and stretched his body. Apart from some slight pain in his joints, his body was fine. He said to the fiery sorceress who was worried about him with a smile, I think I'm good now. I should be leaving. My friends must be worried about me. Either way, thanks for saving me. If there's anything you need my help with, feel free to tell me, said Mo Fan to the fiery sorceress. The fiery sorceress uttered a pleasant cry, and did not ask Mo Fan to do her any favor, nor did she try to hold him back. I guess it's goodbye then. Sigh, no sign of the flame bell, and the fire calamity fruit is in your hands. Maybe I should just try and search for the soul seeds and soul seed pieces and sell them for some cash, sighed Mo Fan with an open mind. Chapter 490 The Deadly Forest. In the Fire Cloud Woods, Nanyu and her squad were the first to arrive at the top of the hill. They were roaming in the Fire Cloud Woods, as if they had lost their sense of direction. The truth was, they were clueless about where to go after arriving at the top, thus they could only roam around aimlessly. The elder who once visited the place only told them that the fire calamity fruit was very likely to be found in the woods near a higher temperature. Did anyone hear a noise, like something hissing? Asked a tan soldier. Stop spooking everyone. Why would any demon beast be here? The temperature is so high, said the woman walking at the front of the team. Her forehead was covered in sweat from the heat of the rising sun. It was still nighttime. If it were midday or afternoon, the place would turn into a furnace, baking them to death. Yeji, do you still have some water? Give me a sip, Yeji. The tan soldier in front turned around, and realized that behind him was completely empty. He lowered his head and immediately saw the marks of someone being dragged away through the leaves. He was shocked and panickingly reported to the group. Commander Nanyu, Yeji, who was guarding our rear, is missing, shouted out the tan soldier. Nanyu raised her hand, signaling the group to hold their position. She quickly scanned the silent woods. Let's trace our steps and look for her. She might have lost her way in the woods. Nanyu shook her head in disagreement. Those who were chosen to join the expedition were the elites from Dunwang's headquarters. Not only were they extremely capable, they were absolutely obedient, too. It was impossible for anyone to leave the group without notifying their leader. Crap. Zudong is missing, too. He was probing the path ahead. Another soldier came back in a panic and reported. Nanyu was taken by surprise, and immediately told everyone in the party, we're outnumbered by the enemy. We have to leave this place at once. Aren't we going to save Yuezi? How could we abandon our comrades? Asked the tan soldier. If you want all of us to die here, go ahead and look for Yeji's corpse, said Nanyu coldly. The squad immediately decided to leave the woods after receiving her order. However, as the soldiers were leaving in a hurry, a few others had vanished into thin air, too. Everyone finally realized how terrifying the woods were. Each of them was only a few meters away from those who had disappeared, yet it all happened almost instantly without making any sound, nor was there any trace of blood. The only clue was the marks of someone being dragged away through the leaves. Nanyu was an outstanding magician. However, she could not sense any presence of demon beasts when her squad members were in danger. It clearly implied that the creature was significantly stronger than them. Nanyu told the team her speculation. They were even more terrified, while the tan soldier said in confusion, if its strength is much stronger than ours, why is it killing us one by one instead of all of us at once? Maybe it's enjoying the fun of hunting us, like a cat preying on a mouse. If we continue to stay here, it will keep on killing us, said Nanyu confidently. What the heck is this place? I think we'll be wiped out by the demon beasts hiding in the Fire Cloud Woods before we manage to find the Fire Calamity fruit. The leaves of the Fire Cloud trees favored scorching sunlight. They would also absorb the heat in the air as nutrients for the trees. Each leaf could only absorb a limited amount of sunlight and heat, and 7 days was their average lifespan. New leaves would replace them, which was the reason why the top of the hill was covered in the red leaves similar to maple leaves, forming a blazing red carpet. Those walking on it could feel a higher temperature and a different kind of softness compared to the ground. Mo Fan was slightly regretful when he stepped into the Fire Cloud's woods. The place was like a maze, as each of the trees looked exactly the same, even their size. The ground covered in red fallen leaves prevented someone from recognizing which direction to go in. Mo Fan was unable to locate the cave that would lead him back to the bottom of the hill. Feeling fatigued, Mo Fan sat on the ground for a quick rest. He was considering returning to the fiery sorceress to ask her to show him the direction, instead of wasting his time walking in circles aimlessly in the woods. He was about to rise to his feet when he felt something sticky on his hands. He raised them up and shockingly discovered that his hands were stained with red liquid. He moved them closer to take a sniff, and his expression instantly changed. It was blood, and it felt like a human's blood. Mo Fan immediately lowered his head and checked the rug of leaves he was sitting on, and realized that the color of the leaves close to him was brighter. He could not tell the difference at a rough glance, but it turned out that the leaves were stained with blood. Mo Fan quickly looked around and saw a bloody, amputated hand among a pile of leaves. The hand seemed to belong to a woman, judging by its structure. Mo Fan was used to seeing dead bodies. He discovered that the woman had died not too long ago, and he tried to search for her other body parts, while wondering if some other magicians had arrived at the Burning Valley. It took him some effort to find something like a badge, allowing Mo Fan to confirm her identity as a battle mage. Not only is the place like a maze, it also has lots of demon beasts that eat humans. Hopefully Xinxia and the others aren't here, otherwise, it would be very dangerous. Mo Fan quickly buried the corpse. Burying corpses was some moral principle that every hunter obeyed. As hunters always found their lives at risk in the wild, they never knew if they would be killed by demon beasts during a hunt and die in the wild. Therefore, when anyone saw someone's corpse in the wild, they would not mind doing the easy favor of burying the dead into the ground, making sure someone else would also do the same to them if they ended up with the same fate. It might sound hilarious, but it was also a sign that every magician who had decided to become a hunter was prepared to die. The others might have the urge to find the Fire Calamity fruit, but Mo Fan had totally lost interest. First, the fiery sorceress guarding the Fire Calamity fruit was very strong, so trying to take the fruit was the same as committing suicide. Second, she was the one who had saved his life, and he was not an ungrateful person who would fall out with her. His main focus was to find Xinxia and the others, while looting some native products of the Burning Valley so he could sell them once he returned to Shanghai. He would get himself some equipment, and bully the assholes who were trying to mess with him at school, which was more than enough to make it a profitable adventure. Chapter 491 Natural Beauty, Nanyu. Mo Fan simply walked in a direction, and somehow stumbled onto the corpse of another man. Likewise, it was covered in fresh blood. His body was torn in half by the creature, but not eaten. The man was tortured right before his death, as the panicked expression on his face was enough to imply what he had experienced prior to his death. It was difficult to tell how many magicians had died in the wild when searching for treasure. Yet, without these magicians risking their lives looking for resources in the demon beasts' territories, humans would be a lot weaker than demon beasts. Mo Fan was a hunter himself, so he clearly understood the sorrow. He ignited a fire and set the corpse aflame, just so the body would not be eaten by any other demon beasts. Magic Vine, Entangle. A feminine, icy voice suddenly appeared from the woods. Mo Fan was ambushed after he had just burned the corpse. Luckily, he was not a rookie when it came to real fights. He had already drawn the shadow element star pattern when he sensed the energy ripple of the magic. Blue magic vines grew rapidly under Mo Fan's feet as if they were alive, lunging upwards and wrapping around Mo Fan's figure. However, Mo Fan's figure slowly dissolved into the shadow of the trees nearby. It was like he had vanished into thin air, leaving a black shadow on the trunk. "Who's there? Come out at once." Mo Fan slowly appeared beside the trunk. Lightning instantly appeared on his palm with a crackle. I should be the one asking the question. Some distance away, a tall woman with yellow hair to her shoulders appeared, staring at Mo Fan coldly. Mo Fan chuckled when he saw the woman with an aquiline nose and a badge on her chest. Is the military running out of money, trying to dig up some gold here? We don't need a useless hunter like you to judge us. Nanyu did not continue to attack Mo Fan. Although Mo Fan was not wearing a hunter's badge, his temperament clearly revealed his identity. Many of your comrades have died. I feel like your squad is going to get wiped out before you could find anything useful. Nanyu did not speak, and bit her lips softly. As Mo Fan had mentioned, their squad had lost too many members here. The Fire Cloud Woods was a lot more terrifying than they had imagined. They could only hide in a safe spot to avoid being massacred. How are you unharmed when you're walking around on your own? It doesn't look like you're able to handle the creatures in this area with your cultivation, said Nanyu. Mo Fan squinted as he inspected the utterly handsome female commander. His eyes scanned from her hair to the loose army pants. Her legs were insanely long. The loose army pants could not hide her muscular legs, yet her calves were fairly thin. Her legs were already so long and upright without wearing heels, a beauty indeed. The woman's height was outstanding. Mo Fan was not short among men, yet the woman was only 1 to 2 centimeters shorter than him. Together with her cold, handsome face, she looked rather dignified when looking down at short boys, urging them to submit to her willingly. Yet, when facing little girls, her handsomeness would dazzle them, making girls doubt about their sexual orientation. Her nose was the rare aquiline nose, combined with a pair of glistening, single-eyelid eyes. Mo Fan was not a fan of effeminate men or tomboys, but he found the neutral beauty of the female commander very attractive, somewhat handsome and breathtaking. Alright, it doesn't matter if someone were an effeminate man or a tomboy. What was more important was their looks. He could not care less which way they were leaning, as good looks made the world go round. Nanyu's eyes became colder when she was aware of Mo Fan's unbridled gaze. She quickly tagged Mo Fan as a lecher and immediately became more alert when interacting with him. If you're willing to give up on the mission, you can ask your people to follow me. I'll bring you to safety, said Mo Fan. We haven't found the Fire Calamity fruit. Mo Fan burst out laughing before Nanyu could finish. He waved his hand and said, forget about it. You can't even make it through the Fire Cloud Woods. Don't even think about trying to get the Fire Calamity fruit. I know where it is, but the guardian of the Fire Calamity fruit isn't something we can deal with. Killing us would be like killing ants for her. Don't waste the lives of your people. Just listen to me and leave when you still have the chance, or head down and loot some soul seeds or soul seed pieces and report back to your superiors. Nanyu frowned. She did not like Mo Fan's tone, yet she could not help but admit that her squad was being targeted by some deadly creature. Their numbers kept on decreasing, yet she still had no idea what was attacking them. Mo Fan continued when he saw the commander being hesitant. The creature that attacked your squad should be the three-headed demon python, the guy at the top of the food chain in this Fire Cloud Woods. Mo Fan had inspected the corpses along the way, and observed that the corpses had died to the same causes: poison, fire, and broken bones. The only creature that could be responsible for their deaths would be the three-headed demon python that had tried to prey on him, too. How do you know that? Asked Nanyu with the same alert tone. I'll ask you one more time. Are you going to give up, or continue to stay here and wait for your death? Mo Fan did not want to waste his time with Nanyu. If they weren't from the army, or the fact that he was feeling it would be a pity if the gorgeous girl was killed by the demon beast, he would not bother helping them. The fiery sorceress must have warned the three-headed demon python, thus it did not dare to trouble him even when he was roaming in the woods. The others weren't so lucky. Nanyu hesitated for a long time, her eyes staring at Mo Fan, trying to see if he were setting them up. However, as she recalled that staying in the woods any longer would place her people in extreme danger, she finally came to terms and asked Mo Fan, "Can you bring us to safety?" "Should be, but I have to find my friends first." "We'll leave together," said Mo Fan. Mo Fan did not like to do things sloppily. After witnessing the fiery sorceress' strength, he immediately gave up on the thought of securing the Fire Calamity fruit. Then, "Fine. You better not be lying to me," said Nanyu. "I was being kind, and also because of your looks," said Mo Fan teasingly. Speaking of which, it seemed like it was easy to find great beauties in the army. Li Man and the woman before him were of the best quality compared to the girls at school or the cities. Their empress-like auras and a temperament that could entrance the hearts of young men was not something the girls who spent most of their time figuring what cosmetics, luxurious bags, and clothing to buy could mimic. Jerk! Nanyu glared at Mo Fan. No one dared to speak to her like that in the army. Chapter 492 Wrath of the Sorceress. Mo Fan's thoughts were simple. He would return to the fiery sorceress straight away, and ask her to guide him and the soldiers out of the Fire Cloud Woods. After interacting with the fire sorceress for a few days, Mo Fan was confident that she would not reject his simple request. Not only was she kind, she was basically very approachable if he did not mention the Fire Calamity Fruit. Nanyu had brought around 10 people here to search for the Fire Calamity Fruit, and there were only 5 left, not a great start at all. Mo Fan managed to find his way back to the Starry Tree. In other words, he also brought Nanyu and her squad to the Fire Calamity Fruit. However, Mo Fan wanted the military to know that, as long as the fiery sorceress was still here protecting the Fire Calamity Fruit, there was no chance they could get their hands on it, as it was pretty much committing suicide trying to do so. What is this place? Nanyu was still unwilling to lower her guard when she saw the little slope. On the slope, the Starry Tree stood alone at the highest place in the valley, with the stars and sun keeping it company. Not a single fire cloud tree could be spotted across the spacious area, nor was there any creature nearby. The slightly bent trunk of the Starry Tree almost covered the space on the slope, and its dense branches were within the reach of a hand. I'll make this clear. Don't think about doing anything stupid, regardless of what you see. She lives here, and as long as you're not hostile toward her, she's very willing to lend anyone in need a hand. I'll ask her to bring us out, Mo Fan reminded Nanyu and her crew. The other soldiers were extremely obedient, probably because they were utterly terrified by the 3-headed demon python. They fully obeyed Mo Fan's words. I'll go ahead and greet her. Don't worry, she won't. Mo Fan was just about to calm the squad down when a shocking fireball erupted on the Starry Tree. The fireball was like a blazing sun hanging on top of the tree, burning the surroundings in a fiery red flame. Its fiery tongues could almost reach the ground. The temperature rose rapidly. The heat was unbearable to begin with, yet it felt like the fireball was going to roast the humans dry. Nanyu was shocked, and quickly went into a defensive stance. She glared at Mo Fan furiously, as she assumed that Mo Fan had purposely baited them here to harm them. As Nanyu was about to interrogate Mo Fan, a fiery creature burst out from the fireball. She stood on the fireball, her figure engulfed in flames. Her outline resembled a woman's shape, glamorous and dignified. The fireball under her feet made her temperament colder and unapproachable. None of the magicians dared to resist her after seeing her appearance. The flames spurted out in waves. The red fire rings spread forward in an arc, until they reached into the distance and formed astonishing flame clouds. Raising their heads, the furious, scorching flames almost set the entire sky aflame, like the terrifying scene of an apocalypse. Asshole, you dared set us up! Nanyu felt herself suffocating due to the pressure of the fiery aura. She endured the suppression and roared furiously. I would have left you guys in the woods if I was trying to harm you. Don't panic, I'll ask what happened. Someone else must have infuriated her. Damn it! Which idiot did that? They almost killed us, cursed Mo Fan. The fiery sorceress was extremely furious. When the 3-headed demon python tried to eat him, the fiery sorceress had unleashed her ruler aura to express her anger. However, the fiery sorceress seemed to have lost her rationality in her anger. Her flames were sprouting into the sky uncontrollably, forming a shocking ocean of flames. The fireball under her feet was even more shocking. Once it exploded, God knew if Mo Fan and the others would simply be erased together with the Fire Cloud Woods. Through Mo Fan's experience with the Black Totem Snake, he had a certain degree of understanding toward the personalities of an extremely powerful creature. He knew that the fiery sorceress was not the type of creature that would massacre aimlessly. In fact, she was kinder and more compassionate than the Black Totem Snake. Someone must have stepped on her tail. The Fire Calamity Fruit? The Fire Calamity Fruit on the Starry Tree had disappeared. The Fire Calamity Fruit was like the fiery sorceress inverse scale. Now that the Fire Calamity Fruit was gone, it must be the reason why she was so furious. Mo Fan quickly arrived at that conclusion. When he saw that the fiery sorceress was about to throw a destructive fireball in their direction, he quickly jumped forward. It's me. I know someone must have stolen your Fire Calamity Fruit, but as I told you, there were people coming here to take away your treasure. Your act of killing is meaningless. Tell me what happened. Maybe we can help you take the fire calamity fruit back." Mo Fan calmed his thoughts and tried his best to calm the fiery sorceress' rage in his own language. The fiery sorceress was infuriated. Her first instinct when she saw humans was to butcher them all. Even when Mo Fan jumped forward, she showed no sign of stopping. The fireball grew bigger. It was impossible to predict the destruction it would bring once it exploded. Mo Fan knew that even with his fire resistance, he had no chance of surviving the blast. His only chance was to convince the fiery sorceress. The fiery sorceress was able to understand human language. Her fiery eyes were filled with rage. Just a thought would detonate the shocking fireball. She glanced at Mo Fan. The flames on her figure burned wildly at a faster pace. In the end, the flames on her body slowly weakened. She descended from the fireball and landed in front of Mo Fan. She stared at the soldiers behind Mo Fan coldly. The hearts of the soldiers, including Nanyu, were already beating wildly. They did not dare to even move their fingers, let alone try to fight back. They finally understood why Mo Fan had asked them to forget about getting the fire calamity fruit. The guardian of the fire calamity fruit was too terrifying. She was pretty much the ruler of the Burning Valley. "Tell me what happened." Mo Fan calmed his thoughts and asked the fiery sorceress sternly. The fiery sorceress did not interact with Mo Fan. She realized that these people were not the same group who had stolen the fire calamity fruit. She glanced toward the west, before her figure flew into the distance. Mo Fan was about to say something when he shockingly discovered a dark blue spike with an icy aura sticking into the fiery sorceress' back. The spike had almost penetrated the fiery sorceress' body. It had poked fairly deep into her back. It was obvious that the icy spike was specifically prepared for the fiery sorceress. The chill was suppressing her flame, and seemed to be spreading to the other parts of her body. Ice poison. The icy spike must have been some magician's equipment, and since it had penetrated the fiery sorceress' back, it must have been a surprise attack. Do you have any other sections of your story you'd like me to review for natural narration?